Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of the Vinny Eastwood Show, broadcasting live on AmericanFreedomRadio.com 5 days a week for your listening pleasure. And I have no guest right now at this particular moment. We're hoping to have Kerry Campbell, who recently, what did she do? She made a withdrawal from a bank account, fraudulently, of course, as is the only kind of withdrawal you can actually make from a bank account, to prove that you can do it. You can just make money up in the banking system. And she proved it. And, of course, she's been labelled a criminal for proving that the banking system is criminals. Does that make sense to everybody? It makes sense. It makes perfect sense to me. And yeah, so hopefully she'll be coming on at some point today. Probably not, though, because she's dealing with some corrupt police in Hawera, where she is. It's pretty close to New Plymouth, a town that recently just took, what's it called? What's that toxic substance, you know? It gives you bone brittleness, reduces your IQ, causes about 10,000 other kind of disorders or bad things wrong with you, but they put it in the water anyway and say that it's good for your teeth. Oh yeah, that's right, the fluoride, yeah. Yeah, New Plymouth just took the fluoride out like a wee while ago. But today, we have a wee bit of an article here. The good old GCSB. Now, behind me, for those of you who are watching on the YouTube, you can see an enormous pair of balls, and these are. I'm sorry, this is not meant to be rude. These are radar domes that they have over the Waihopai spy base, and what they're doing is they're basically part of Project Echelon. Project Echelon was a secret kind of agreement between all the Western governments back in the day. Basically, it's illegal to spy on your own citizens without a wiretap, but it ain't illegal if somebody else does it and they share their information with you. So they all figured this out and they go, hey, why don't we just spy on each other's citizens? We're using all of our radar equipment and all of that kind of stuff, and then just share the information. That way we get around this complete, utter loophole, and we can spy on everybody, be a bunch of tyrannical scum, and not break any laws in the process. That's Project Echelon. That sounds about right, doesn't it? And now, we, instead of it being illegal to spy on your own citizens, in New Zealand, it's now legal as the GCSB bill passes its last reading. Oh, isn't that nice? You know, just a little bit of scumbaggery. Isn't that good? You know, now they don't have to deceive people. With Project Echelon, by spying on each other and sharing information, now they can just spy on you directly and do it legally. Isn't that nice? It's very nice, isn't it? I'm going to read out this article from the New Zealand Herald. Sorry, had something stuck in my throat. Happens when I read out BS. By the way, guess who outranks the New Zealand Herald in terms of YouTube subscribers? That's right. Me. Alright. They're like the 4th most popular website in the country, and I'm outranking them on YouTube. Scum. The Government Communications Security Bureau, the GCSB, and related legislation amendment bill has passed at its 3rd reading. The Prime Minister and Sinister responsible for GCSB, John Key, welcomed the passing of the legislation. Isn't it interesting that he's both the Prime Minister and the Minister in charge of the GCSB, and he's passing the law, and then when people, and then he also heads the committee that gets to hear all the evidence and things like that against the GCSB and decides who can speak and for how long and who can't speak and why not? They're not even trying to cover up the fact that they're a bunch of dill-hole scumbags, aren't they? I love this quote. Despite ill-informed claims to the contrary, nothing in this legislation allows for wholesale spying on New Zealanders. It actually tightens, not widens, the existing regime, Mr. Key said. Alright, now, let's just see if we can break that down. Ill-informed claims to the contrary. Who's been making these ill-informed claims? Let's just see what Johnny Campbell has to say about this. He's kind of like the I don't know, Walter Cronkite of New Zealand, I guess. Says, are you saying that the Law Society and the Privacy Commissioner and the Human Rights Commissioner are all wrong? And John Key says yes. like all the people who are like the most qualified cats in the country in terms of civil liberties, in terms of the law, in terms of the rule of law. They all say that this gives them wholesale spying ability. The Prime Minister, John Key, a Federal Reserve banker, says that it doesn't. And he's been caught in, I'd hazard a guess, thousands of lies? Blatant lies? Extraordinary corruption? And he says that all these people are ill-informed. Right. And we're supposed to trust you, aren't we? You frickin' lying sack of scum. It's just complete lies. Okay, and this is the problem. This is my problem with the media. Is that they report lies, and they don't challenge them. They just say, Mr. Key said. That's what he said. Yeah, we reported on what he said. And you don't say that it's a frickin' lie what he said. Did ya? You're just a bunch of scaly, prime ministerial member slurping scum. The whole lot of you in the New Zealand media. Okay? What are you doing? You know, don't you get it? Now that this bill's passed, they're going to be checking all your sources up, mate. Okay? They can do it legally. Now how many people are going to come to you to blow the whistle or give you insider information, knowing that your emails at the editor's lounge at New Zealand Herald and goodness knows how many other Fairfax media publications are all being monitored by the Government Security Bureau? What you gonna do then? I mean, you're basically shooting yourself in the foot. That's if, of course, you wanted to remain a credible journalist with any news to report or any sources that would trust you. If you didn't care about that, and perhaps you, I don't know, wanted to get a job as a government propagandist, then this bill's not that bad for you after all, because it'll wipe out all your competition. Won't it? Another quote from Mr. Key. This essential legislation. Oh, it's essential legislation. Yeah, like the country would die and just like be sucked into a black hole like a Disney movie without it. This essential legislation. Excuse me, just give me a second. Oh God. Sorry. Had something stuck in my throat. This essential legislation makes it clear what the GCSB may and may not do, and fixes an act passed under the Labour government a decade ago, which was not, and probably never was, fit for the purpose. It clarifies the GCSB's legal framework and substantially increases oversight of the country's intelligence agencies. Oh, let's just stop reading out the quote just there for a second. You know what the substantial oversight that he's talking about is? It means he, the Minister of the GCSB, and the Prime Minister gets to decide solely based on his sole authority who gets to be spied on, what warrants are legal, and what the parameters are. Am I freaking nuts? You gotta be kidding me. This is what they call tightening their regime. This is what they call increasing oversight by giving unchecked, monstrous surveillance power, the say-so, to one person who is a known psychopathic liar. This is what they call increasing oversight! Are you kidding me? And he said this will go some way to rebuilding the public confidence in the GCSB. I'm sorry for the extraordinary laughter at this. I mean, you could not ask for a more hilarious comedy script, could you? You know, and that's what happens when I you should see me when I when I watch Obama speak on TV. You know, we're going to increase America's security by funding the military-industrial complex and drone striking people that basically had no problem with us until we started drone striking them, but to protect the United States from terrorists that can't even attack us because the only terrorists that were able to attack us are ones that we paid the credit cards for. The legislation passed today makes the GCSB's 3 functions clear, he said. All they're doing is providing a platform for the Prime Minister to speak. He doesn't need a platform, New Zealand Herald. He's the Prime Minister. He can say whatever the frack he wants. I mean, come on. Come on. What are you playing at? He said that these 3 functions are information assurance and cyber security, foreign intelligence, and assisting other agencies. Okay. Information assurance? Well, here's some information for you. I can be assured that they are building in back doors of some kind. I don't know what the some bloody nerd gave me a bollocking and said I was, quote, fracking retarded. That's not the exact quote, but you get what I'm saying. Because I've said back door, when it's not a back door, it's some other kind of technical term or whatever, which means back door! Into the ISPs, Internet Service Providers, for those of you who aren't tech and no savvy, so that they can spy on everything you frickin' do through your own internet company. And if the internet company reports to you, or lets anybody know that they've already built in these back doors, so to speak, then they face fines and or imprisonment. That's what he means by information assurance. Assuredly, anybody who reports that they're tapping your phone or reading your emails goes to jail or gets massive fines. Alright? That's what they mean by cyber security. So that the cyber attacks by the government on any activist or person exposing their copious quantities of scumbaggery can get fracked. Right? That's what they mean by information assurance and cyber security. Now, what they mean by foreign intelligence is just what I mentioned before about Project Echelon, the gathering information on everybody anyway, and assisting other agencies. What they're saying is, well, it's illegal for the police to get a wiretap on you, but it ain't illegal for the GCSB. So what we're gonna, you see what I'm saying here? It's the same kind of methodology of what the Project Echelon did for the entire world's intelligence agencies. The GCSB is now going to do to all of New Zealand, and now the New Zealand Police, State Intelligence Services, the SIS, will be able to then just go to them and just say, hey, it's illegal for us to get a wiretap on all of these activists and stuff like that are exposing our scumbaggery. Can you tap their phones for us? Can you read their emails for us and just pass us on the information? That way it's not illegal for us to do it. And just as long as you get the Prime Minister's approval, and just as long as it's anything to do with the economy or anything, really, that the Prime Minister feels fit to grant them these warrants for. I've only gotten through like a couple of lines of this article that's so full of missing information and BS that I have to fill in. We'll be right back after the break at theVinnyEastwoodShow.com.
No matter where you live, globalism affects you. Did you know that the Vinny Eastwood Show has more subscribers than New Zealand Herald TV and is New Zealand's most popular YouTube news channel, where warm-hearted humour and a list of awesome guests talk about crucial issues which the mainstream media ignore? A show where you, the listener, can phone up with questions, comments and suggestions of guests. Vinny is building a hub to connect truthers with raw information they need to become active. He can help you gain further skills such as website building, producing audio and video, and creating revenue streams in your own multimedia environment. Because Vinny supports such a wide range of people in the truth movement, he is not government or corporate backed and relies entirely on your donations. Give now, give generously, or subscribe for $10 a month for access to ad-free video archives. Just visit thevinnyeastwoodshow.com and click donate.
You listen to the Vinny Eastwood Show. I'm reading out this article from the New Zealand Herald. The Green Party said a fundamental constraint on freedom had become law. Really? Really? What fundamental freedoms does the Green Party think that people still have? I mean, Child, Youth and Family Services can make an accusation against you and take your kids for no reason. And men don't get legal aid in the family court system, okay? You remember the eugenics courts? Ever heard of those? It's the family court. It's the same frickin' thing. And what else? What else freedoms do we have? I mean, you're forced to pay taxes. You don't. I mean, somebody comes in, squeezes your wallet. You know. I mean, practically, it's like a bully shaking up a small kid by the ankles and seeing what money drops out of him. You know, and then going off and buying himself some sweeties at the tuck shop. You know, that's government taxation. So you don't have the right to even your own money. You don't have the right to even your own kids. The banks can foreclose on your home if you miss one payment, even if you've paid off $700,000 of a $701,000 home, and they made the money up to loan you for the mortgage in the first place anyway. You don't have the right to your own private property. You don't have the right to privacy, considering Project Echelon's been spying on everybody the whole time anyway. Alright? So any rights that people think that they have, any freedoms that people think that they have, they're not actual rights, they're not actual freedoms, they're privileges granted by government, just because they've decided not to frack with you, just as yet. And if you're a business owner, oh mate, they can shut your business down quicker than you can say Fat Sam. They'll just send some cops in to raid your place, steal all your computers, and claim that there's something on those computers that they need to investigate, and if they ever return them, there'll be heaps of stuff deleted off them, and it'll be virtually unworkable. Alright? You have no rights. You have no freedoms. You have nothing that the government can't just take away when it wants to. Green Party, wake the frack up. What, are you kidding yourselves? And this is the other thing. All of the parties in this country have no frickin' clue. Either that or they do have a frickin' clue, but they're just too cowardly, too spineless to say the truth. That's why I don't like the New Zealand politicians. As, even the ones who are resisting scumbaggery, or even have the appearance of resisting scumbaggery, hold back on the information. Hold back on the truth. Because they're afraid that people will think that they're crazy for saying the truth. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Just a bunch of jellyfish, spineless, and you go wherever the current takes you. Innit? Here's a quote from the Green Party. The National Government, along with Peter Dunne and John Banks... Peter Dunne being from United Future, which doesn't even have enough members to qualify as a party under New Zealand law, yet he's still in there. And John Banks, who is mired in a corruption scandal right now, being privately prosecuted, have signed away significant freedoms of New Zealanders by passing the Government Communications and Security Bureau, GCSB, legislation tonight, Greens co-leader Dr. Russell Norman said. This legislation restricts our freedoms of expression and our right to live without surveillance, he said. Now, what right to live without surveillance? You know? Point to the Bill of Rights, Mr. Norman. Point to the anything. Sorry about that. It just dropped out for a second there. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. What noise? I have no idea what he's talking about. Okay. Well, I'm not sure how much of that you heard. So, how long did that drop off take again? It was like a minute or something. I don't know. But anyway, you don't have any rights to privacy. You don't have any rights. Full stop. Really, you've actually only got 3 rights. Those rights are put up, shut up, or pay up. Those are the only things you've actually got a right to do. Everything else, you have to fight, kill if necessary, and even die for. Those are the only things that are actually what people consider rights. You have to fight for them. You have to take them. You can't ask for permission. You don't really have much of a choice in the matter. What, you think tyranny's gonna just bend over backwards? Oh, people are trying to negotiate and try to ask us questions. Oh, I'm so afraid. They can just freaking kill you. I don't give a frack about you. I don't give a frack about our little protests. I mean, I go to protests, sure. I've probably been to more protests than most people in this country. But at the end of the day, I know for a fact, this isn't conjecture, I know for a fact that protesting doesn't work. That putting submissions into government doesn't work. That trying to get accountability in government doesn't work. Because you're trying to play by rules against people who don't respect said rules, don't follow said rules, and even if they did, they just make up new rules, which makes the existing rules obsolete. Don't you get it? There's nothing you can do. They've made sure that there's nothing you can do. Okay? And they just tell you that there is something you can do, so you'll placate yourself and busy yourself writing stuff and resisting along lawful channels while they completely destroy the country. Okay? If they pass 10 rounds of legislation which destroy the frickin' country and you're tied up in committees or tied up somewhere else, then what effect is your little protest or anything like that going to have? The answer is frickin' nothing. Because 9 out of 10 of the pieces of legislation that destroy the country will get through for the one that you stop. Okay? That's the way the game works. And it's impossible to keep up with all the legislation that they're passing, even for the ministers themselves who are passing them. They don't even show up for the readings. I've seen parliamentary TV. They don't care. Even when there's a vote going on. Like, I remember I was watching this one. What was it talking about? Oh, yeah. It was something along the lines of the mandatory chipping of all cows and farmers bill. Or something like that. I will say, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. And guess how many people were actually in the House debating this bill on its second reading? There was like a dozen out of like 150-ish. Okay? So a dozen frickin' retards sitting there voting on whether or not you as a farmer don't have to have a frickin' microchip implanted under your skin and all of your cows as well, so that they can prevent, quote unquote, 2 to 3 accidents caused by cars every year when the cows are crossing the road. This is nuts. They don't even read the legislation that they pass. Okay? It's the same in the United States. They don't care. They're just there to, put their hands up and go, yep, I believe such and blah, 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 with no evidence. You're just a bunch of frickin' scum. All of you. I hate to shove every single politician into a barrel with that statement by saying that they're all a bunch of scum. But, the evidence is pretty clear. If you weren't all a bunch of scum, some of you would be resisting, openly resisting, attacking, viciously, coming to protests and things like that. There's only like a handful of them that do. Maybe like, I don't know, 2 or 3 that I can think of off the top of my head, maybe Russell Norman from the Greens, or Stefan Browning from the Greens. Russell Norman I don't see very often. And the Mana Party, what's his name, Hone Harawira. And who's the other guy, I think from New Zealand First, Andrew something. I forget what his name is. He's the deputy leader of the party. Used to be the mayor of North Shore City before it became a super city under Agenda 21. But even he didn't, try and resist that. His whole mentality was, just let it happen because we can't stop it. And what are they going to do next time, Andrew? You lay down now, you're laying down forever. When the Nazi scumbags are telling you to get down on your knees in front of an open grave, don't get down on your frickin' knees. Don't make it easy for them to exterminate you. I mean, where's the spirit of resistance in this country? Have we been so dumbed down? Have we been so used to appeasing people who are evil that it's become habit? Is that what's happened to this country? Are people just quite happy to sit by and watch a couple 100 years of progress or building up of infrastructure or anything just get sold out to the New World Order and have all of our freedoms and everything that grandparents and great-grandparents all frickin' died for, and people resisted in the streets for, just merrily go away? That's what democracy happens to be, really. Just a mechanism for the New World Order to just get, as long as we can lie and convince, a section of the public to believe our BS, we can then take away all the real freedoms and real rights that everybody thought that they had, and then just tell them that they still have them, when they frickin' don't. Then when they come up to resist us, we can say, well, actually, you don't have any rights. We can just take you away. We can just pop you in a FEMA camp. Allegedly, there's a couple in New Zealand with the barbed wire and the fences and everything. Old bus depots and whatnot. And we'll just get rid of you. That's basically the future. Man, that was quite a... I'm sorry, I'm ranting. I said I'll get back to the article. Earlier today, during the third and final reading of the bill, Mr. Key said if he could disclose some... I was thinking... Actually, somebody told me the other day that a deeper voice is a much better radio voice, so let's just change that. Mr. Key said he could disclose some of the briefings he had about risks to New Zealand. It would, quote, cut dead some of the opposition to the GCSB bill, but he could not divulge them. So let me get this straight, Mr. Key. The only things that could actually stop the GCSB bill, you won't disclose. Does that sound really transparent to everybody? Does that make a whole lot of sense? The only thing that you can do is believe him. Believe a Federal Reserve banker who is a known liar and alleged psychopath. Just trust me. I wouldn't lie to you. Right. He said he regretted that many citizens had become agitated and alarmed about the bill, but he would be more regretful if the bill's changes were not passed. Now, if anybody resists these kind of changes and, gets agitated and alarmed about it, he says, "Oh, I regret that people have become agitated and alarmed." You regret? Is it because you would prefer people to bend over backwards to do precisely what your lying, scheming, psychopathic ass wants? Is that what the preferred methodology is? For people to just be willing slaves? Is that about right? The bill is being passed right now because it is needed right now. You bet it's needed right now. With people like Bradley Manning and Edward Snowden. You need bills like this so that any whistleblower that even comes close to the truth and even comes anywhere near a media outlet that would report said truth, goes anywhere near WikiLeaks, you can pinpoint them, red flag them, and have them eliminated. Can't you, Mr. Key? With no evidence, no back-talkie, no nothing. That's why it's urgently needed, isn't it? Because there's so many people out there who are now figuring out what you and this entire government really as a whole really is. We'll be right back after the break at the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vinny Eastwood Show. Sorry about that. I had a little bit of a delay getting back on air there because the camera's malfunctioning. It's odd. Continuing on from the quotes from Mr. Key. Others may play politics with the security and lives of New Zealanders, but I cannot, and I do not, and I will not. Really. So, on the breakfast show, not exactly a massive media hive of journalistic credibility, full of people that could actually argue and actually know that you're lying, you announce that the reason why this very legislation is so desperately needed is that there are Al-Qaeda operatives in New Zealand that you need to be surveilling. Now, who's playing politics? Who's playing with our security by lying to us, providing no evidence for his claims, and then repeating over and over that he doesn't do that? Is this some carnival game? Is this something that is acceptable to New Zealanders? Is this something that's acceptable? I mean, the people of the United States have to deal with this kind of BS all the time, and people in New Zealand think that, it'll never happen here. I got frickin' news for you. It's been happening here for a long time. Everything that they're doing to our brethren in the United States is happening right here at home. That goes for everybody. We're all in this together. We hang together or we hang separate. The New World Order is very real, and they play politics and lie and deceive so that they can take control of your country and demonize anybody who wishes to retain some form of national sovereignty in order to retain any form of freedom. that was so important in the founding of nations. That's, excuse me, that's what he's here to do. He said the bill isn't a revolution in the way New Zealand conducts its intelligence operations. How can we be sure? Have you provided any frickin' evidence? Oh, well, no, he hasn't. It made it clear what the GCSB could and could not do, including making it clear that they can now surveil anyone that it wants with no warrants. Okay. That's now clear. Oh, I feel so much safer knowing that the rule of law no longer applies to a government agency. That makes me feel all warm and snuggly at night when I'm cuddling up to my, I don't know, black uniformed thug, allegedly, that's in my bed, listening to everything that I do. Some kind of obese bearded troll clicking mouse and keyboard behind a computer screen all day long at the behest of the NSA. This is not the world I wish to live in. I wish for something more. I wish to be able to do whatever I want, as long as I don't hurt nobody or damage or steal their private property. That's the rule of law. Everything else that has ever been passed in this country, since the Magna Carta of King frickin' John, in my opinion, is BS. Everything. And that includes a hell of a lot of things that we all take for granted, doesn't it? Mr. Key said nothing in the bill allowed for wholesale surveillance of New Zealanders, and he said this on the John Campbell live show, and then had to admit later that he lied. And here's the New Zealand Herald, after that fact, still reporting it, and not contravening it. They're complicit. This media entity is owned by Fairfax Media, and they have been notorious, absolutely notorious, in helping to push through BS government agendas. A award-winning journalist in the United States toasted the press club and said, "Congratulations, all of you, for still being employed, because it means that you have never said what you thought on air or on paper at all. Because the second you say the truth, the second you express your own real opinion, you'll be out of the job. You're all a bunch of freaking cowards, aren't you?" You know, a lot of people in the media are probably jealous of people like me, because I'm actually making a living. Thanks, in no small part, in fact, thanks entirely to my listeners who donate so generously, because they are actually really happy that somebody's out there speaking the truth on their behalf. Somebody who they can listen to, that they know isn't frickin' full of Shiite Muslim. He repeated the statements he made to the Herald last week, that approving interception warrants of New Zealanders under the cybersecurity function would be a two-step process. Now, usually you require 3 steps for a check and balance, don't you? And that a warrant to look at content would be with the consent of the New Zealander, unless there was a good reason not to seek consent. And of course, who gets to decide what's a good reason and what isn't? He does. It was Mr. Key's first speech in Parliament on the bill, which previous debates having been handled by Justice Sinister Judith Collins, otherwise known as Crusher Collins, who looks so evil that you feel like she might burst into a flaming skull like, I don't know, what the heck is his name? The dude with the motorcycle and the chains and the hellfire-ness. You know, that's kind of what she's like. And Attorney General Chris Finlayson. It's probably a Kitty Finlayson. Under the bill, the GCSB will have 3 functions. It will retain its traditional function of collecting foreign intelligence Why is it even there to collect foreign intelligence? Isn't that why we have the state intelligence services? Our equivalent of the CIA. And it is not allowed to spy on New Zealanders under that function, either under the current law or the new law. Although that's only one of 3 parts of the law, and one of the other parts does give them the ability to spy on New Zealanders under that function. This is just blatant crap. Blatant. And if you were a writer for the New Zealand Herald, putting out this government propaganda, how could you not vomit in your own mouth? This is disgusting journalism. This is pathetic. All you are is a tyrannical mouthpiece. Some form of sexual reference comes to mind, but I'm not allowed to say that because it's a family show. Another function will be to assist the SIS, the police, and defence in conducting duly warranted interceptions of New Zealanders. The police were already engaged in this, but they had to go see a judge first to get an actual warrant. And now they don't have to. Because they can just go to John Key at the GCSB and get it. It has been doing this already under doubtful legal authority, because while the current law says the GCSB can help such agencies in specific ways, it explicitly says it cannot spy on New Zealanders. And now it can. A further expansion of powers comes under the GCSB's cyber security function. Now just remember, whenever they use the word security, it means tyranny. Cyber tyranny function. Until now, its job has been to protect only government communications from attack. It will now be extended to private sector cyber systems if they are important enough to New Zealand. And of course, who decides what's important enough to New Zealand? That's right, the Prime Minister, who's an economic hitman sent here from Wall Street to destroy this country. He decides what's important enough to violate your private business, your private emails. That means that anybody, essentially, who threatens the government agenda and its miraculously large quantity of scumbaggery counts as something important to take a wee look at. We'll be right back after the break at the Vinny Eastwood Show.com, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you go anywhere.
If you take an active interest in maintaining the optimum health and well-being of yourself and your family, the New Zealand Journal of Natural Medicine is the magazine you've been waiting for. Having taken Australia and New Zealand by storm, the New Zealand Journal of Natural Medicine is now available in the UK and Europe. Visit www.nznaturalmed.co.uk or call 01626 337 531 to order your copy now.
It is now hour number 2 of the fastest 2 hours in talk radio. It's the Vinny Eastwood Show, broadcasting live from New Zealand. Soon to be known as, Region 6 of the New World Order Kingdom or whatever. You know, I sit back and I watch my country fade away like a shadow into the night. I think about all the blood that was spilled needlessly and wantonly trying to protect it from scumbaggery. And then it doesn't matter. And that there's nobody really able to resist, to commentate, to garner any form of adequate attack. or defense against the system. The bankers have taken everything from us. It's so easy for them, because we gave them the ability to just make money up, and they can bribe anybody they want in perpetuity. You know, every man's got a price, allegedly. And even if the man doesn't have a price, even if he can't be bought, you can just buy somebody else who has got a price that will kill that man who doesn't. Assassination. You know, that's at the very end of the day, that's the worst kind of thing that you can really ever think of, isn't it? Somebody standing up for the good of man, for people's rights, for doing what's right. And kill those people to protect evil. Speaking of evil, in his speech, Mr. Key also reiterated the position on metadata. Have you noticed that during this Mr. Key speech, which essentially the New Zealand Herald is just copying word for word, not challenging in any way, shape or form, and just allowing people that are reading this to be propagandized and have no freaking idea what the real truth of the matter is, he reiterates a lot of things. Now, what does the word reiterate mean? Doesn't it mean something like repeating? As in repeating over and over again, which the CIA figured out was one of the most effective propaganda techniques in order to brainwash people into thinking that what you're saying is the truth. Joseph Goebbels of Nazi Germany knew this. He was their propaganda minister. And he said, if you repeat something often enough, people begin to believe it. And you do. Don't you, New Zealand public? You believe in John Key. You believe that even though he's lied to you 1,000 times, because he just repeats that he's not a liar 1,000 times, that he isn't. Are you freaking kidding me? His position on metadata is that it would be treated the same in the bill as communications. Your metadata is your personal, private property. This is where you are, how long you talked for, all these very important little details which don't really mean anything if you're allegedly not doing anything wrong, right? But it's be treated as the same as communications. Which means that before New Zealanders' metadata can be collected, it will require a warrant to be signed by the Prime Minister and the Commissioner of Security Warrants, who is incidentally appointed by, you guessed it, the Prime Minister. Labour leader, David Shearer, now the former Labour leader, because he stepped down like a day after this bill was passed. Isn't that interesting? And goes back to work for the UN, probably. Said a Labour-led government would hold an inquiry in order to create a world-class intelligence service. Oh, you're going to create an inquiry. You're going to appoint a commission, aren't you? You know what a commission does? It commits crimes. You know, the commission of a crime. That's it. All they do is sit there, pay the panel members money. I remember there's another commission where a former Prime Minister was paid something like $450 an hour to sit there and listen to people's submissions and ignore them. That's all a commission really does. Sit there, listen to people's complaints and ignore them. Waste people's time. And then whenever the media ever asks any politician any tough questions, the politician has a convenient line for them. Well, I'll answer that question once the commission is done with its inquiry. Have you ever noticed that? You ever noticed that every single time you want to ask a significant question of a scumbag in government, they say we can't answer that question because there's an inquiry going on? Motherfracker, I'm making an inquiry right now. Answer my fracking question. Otherwise I'm going to have to assume that you are one of the many enemies of this nation from within. I'm going to have to assume that if you're not being straight up
if you're not honestly answering a straight fracking question, that you are an enemy of this country, and you're attempting to deceive me and my people, and you will be held accountable eventually. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. Hopefully. And I'll give my last breath and my last drop of blood to seeing that the enemies of this nation pay for their crimes. Not in an angry mob with torches and pitchforks strung up like a lynch mob, but lawfully, fairly, with evidence, with calm, with precision. Your crimes shall be laid out. You shall be given the opportunity to defend yourself, with a jury of your peers to listen to your pleas. And if you are found guilty, then you will pay for your crimes against this nation. That's my intention, to follow the law. Even though your intention is not. Because I would be no better than you if I were to just, try and string you up because I believe that you're a bad person. I believe you're a traitor. That's not good enough. Has to be beyond reasonable doubt in order to be lawful. That's what I want in this nation. The rule of law to be restored. And unfortunately, I may never see that for my nation. I may never see it. I don't believe I've ever seen it. Not in the 28 years that I've been alive have I seen the rule of law actually applied in this country fully. There's always some form of scumbaggery going on. There's always somebody's rights being violated. There's always some new piece of legislation being passed to destroy everything that this nation stands for. Labour Deputy Leader Grant Robinson said Mr. Key's claim that the bill did not expand the GCSB's function was, quote, fundamentally wrong. There were clearly new powers under the cybersecurity function, he said. Greens co-leader Russell Norman, and not to mention the New Zealand Herald doesn't expand on and tell you what those clear new powers actually are, and even quote the legislation, because if they did, then they would be contravening the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister wouldn't be very happy with the journalist who wrote this, and probably wouldn't allow them to interview him anymore. Just keep suckling that teat, and guarantee you it's got a malicious poison lodged within that breast of government that will melt your insides like acidic venom from a spider's fang. Greens co-leader Russell Norman said many people died last century fighting for freedoms. And we, here today, are fighting for those basic principles. But we ain't gonna die for them, are we, Russell? We're not gonna really take up arms. We're not gonna do a whole bunch of things that are really, really threatening to our own well-being, because we like our cushy jobs. We like our government salaries. We like our personal sense of security, that we can go home at night and not worry about thugs in black uniforms busting into our homes. Don't we, Russell? That's why you won't resist as much as you probably should. Because you're too comfortable. Too comfortable to fight and die for freedom, as those in previous generations were not. They volunteered to die in service of this country. And now, we stop at only words. If words are not enough, we don't go any further than that. What does that say about the spinelessness of our people and of our politicians? What does that say? He said it was hard to have a debate about protecting freedom in the abstract, and that was made harder with the Prime Minister, quote, screaming hysterically about Al-Qaeda that don't frickin' exist. Attorney General Chris Finlayson attacked several critics of the bill, including Rodney Harrison, QC, that's Queen's Counsel, who presented the Law Society's submission on the bill, former Prime Minister Sir Geoffrey Palmer, former Director of the GCSB Sir Bruce Ferguson, and historian academic Dame Anne Salmond. He told Parliament that the bill hadn't been rushed through, but perhaps it had not been long enough for Mr. Harrison to come to grips with it. It's going through too fast for the head of the Law Society to even understand. And they think that the politicians understand this. So when John Key lies to the whole of Parliament and the whole of the country, nobody, not even the head of the Law Society, understands the lies enough to challenge them. Unbelievable. He said much of difficulties that the bill addressed had occurred under Sir Bruce's watch, despite him trying to reinvent himself as a commentator. Mr. Finlayson said Sir Geoffrey had allowed the GCSB to operate without any legislation at all while he had been Prime Minister, and he described Dame Anne's attacks as, quote, shrill and unprofessional. I've interviewed Dame Anne. She's anything but shrill, and anything but unprofessional. Yet Mr. Finlayson can just sit there and lie. And of course, the New Zealand Herald doesn't say anything. They just sit there and report lies, as if that's what a credible journalist does. Well, this person lied. Let's report it. Aren't you going to say that they actually lied? No, let's just report what they said. That's what journalism is in this country. It's so sad. Practically makes me weep. What danger are we all in? I can't sit by and watch this happen to my country. Or my people. This legislation is one small little wedge that will open up a floodgate of tyranny. I see people dying in future, being locked away without so much as a trial in the future, living in slave blocks next to train tracks, having everything they do tracked and traced. No freedom, no love, no business. Nothing but that which is mandated by evil will be allowed. This is the future of my country. It makes me weep to see it slipping away. And all these scum that work for the media do nothing. And just sit there and report it like it's a food critic. Like that's the amount of importance that it really has. The real problem had been with the passage of the 2003 legislation, which should have never been passed, he said. Yesterday, Mr. Key said he and GCSB Director Ian Fletcher would resign if he found that the GCSB had engaged in mass surveillance because it would be unlawful. Really? I suppose the 88 people who were unlawfully spied on before passing this bill doesn't count. Does it? They've already done it. It's already been reported. It's already been proven. And here they are promising to resign if something that had already happened. And of course, they haven't resigned. Have they? What's different? Under the current Act, the GCSB gathers intelligence by spying on foreigners. Cannot spy on New Zealanders to gather intelligence, and protects government communications from cyber attack, and may help other domestic agencies such as SIS, police, and defence, and other entities in an unspecified manner. Under the new Act, the GCSB protects government communications and important private sector systems from attack, because of course the private sector now owns the government, so they need protection too. Can spy on New Zealanders' communications content under cybersecurity, though John Key says it will be rare and on a second warrant only. That would make a good TUI billboard, wouldn't it? Yeah, right. We'll be right back after the break at the Vinny Eastwood Show.com. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vinny Eastwood Show, New Zealand's only real, hardcore, freedom-loving radio show. And I want to give out special mention and thanks to the New Zealand stations who are brave enough to share this broadcast with the people of this country. I really appreciate that. Dagsy and Greg and Roy, you know, there are a lot of people in this nation who really have a thirst for the truth, but they're not even aware of the existence of this show. They're not even aware of it at all. As far as they're concerned, they're a lone voice screaming into the wilderness. And I implore the listeners, please, for the love of frack's sake, tell people about this radio show. There won't be any commentary even comparable to the massive cacophony of information and commentary that comes out of this program on a daily basis. There's nothing comparable to it. It must be shared. The people must know. They must be informed so that they can defend themselves from propagandistic mind control attack that the mainstream media perpetrate on all of us. There's only a few lines left of this GCSB article to read out under the new Act of the GCSB. It says that it can help specifically the SIS, police and defence to spy on New Zealanders if the other agencies are authorised under warrant or statute. And we all know that they don't operate under warrants or statutes anyway. I don't know how many times I've seen police break the law right in front of my frickin' eyes and just get away with it. Because do you know who you complain to about misconduct by the police? The Police Misconduct Authority, who are incidentally all staffed by police, who protect each other like a gang. So, what are you going to do? Let me get this straight. The only restraint... Oh, hold on, let me just finish this off. Also, the GCSB still cannot spy on New Zealanders to gather foreign intelligence. Okay, so that's done. So, the only protection you have against the GCSB is the lying psychopathic Prime Minister and the person he appoints and the lying, deceptive intelligence services, the lying, deceptive police services, who you can't complain about or bring to justice because they control justice. And also the corrupt courts which support them, which are populated by a whole bunch of judges who are all practically related, by first cousin at least. Those are the stops. Those are the checks. That's the balance. You've got to be freaking kidding me. I mean, it just makes me so angry. We're so fracked. We're so fracked. What are we gonna do? All I can do is talk about it. You know, I criticize the politicians for stopping at only words, and yet I'm doing the same. I'm just as hypocritical. I go further than they do with my words, but still, that's all I do. Try to provide a voice, try to provide something that actually means that this country won't just fade into the night without screaming, without yelling, without the force of words. It's becoming increasingly apparent to me that words are not enough. Media coverage is not enough. Not when I'm trying to do it all on my own. How much responsibility am I supposed to take on my shoulders to defend this country? How many of the other alternative media commentators and leftists that are, you know, talking about this GCSB bill, most of the information that I have that I've been talking about this has been from them. Yet they do not acknowledge the even existence of the New World Order. They don't acknowledge it at all. Are they willfully ignorant? Am I alone in this fight? Am I the only media in this whole frickin' country talking on radio and making YouTube videos about this, where the big picture gets discussed? You know, unfortunately, in most cases, yeah, I really am. That doesn't make me proud to be the only one. That makes me ashamed. Ashamed of the people of my country. There's 4 million of you living here, 1 million of you overseas, and you're leaving all the important work to me. I shake my head at you. Stop being such a bunch of frickin' cowards. You have to start speaking the truth. You have to start putting the real information out there before it's too late. The country needs you. Don't you see that? Don't you see that with a bunch of criminal scum in the government and horrific, negligent, and pathetic media, that this nation is doomed? Don't you see that? What terrorist threat is there that requires this kind of legislation? What is the definition of terrorism? Terrorism's actually a system of government. No Shiite Muslim. Look it up in the frickin' dictionary if you don't believe me. It's a system of government. Terrorism, communism, fascism, they're systems of government. Capitalism, you know. What's terrorism defined by? Well, it's the government using threats, fear, intimidation, and terror to get the people to do what it wants. Think about that. Is your country a terrorist nation? In case of the United States, most definitely. I see how it spies on its people, how it forces them under colour of law to give their innocent children toxic vaccines, which cause autism rates to spike. I see all of this going on, and I see so many people in the United States resisting this. I see so many commentators coming out and telling the truth, broadcasting it across the nation, far and wide, doing what needs to be done in order to protect their country. And then I look at mine, and I feel like a lone voice in the wilderness. And it makes me sick to my stomach. What is the... I'm just lost for words. You know? I can't describe what a feeling it is to be a talk radio show host who's lost for words, ladies and gentlemen. That's how bad the situation is. That is how dark the times have become. When even somebody who is a alleged voice of freedom like myself has no more words. There's no more to say on the topic. I've said everything that needs to be said. And I feel so bad that it is not enough. There are not enough words in the English dictionary to describe the massive problem that we are faced with. There is not enough words that can be spoken that will stop these tyrants dead in their tracks. When will the time come when everybody will get off their ass and start speaking the truth? Will it be when there's a security camera in your home? Will it be when there's a microchip under your skin? Will it be when there are checkpoints on every road, pulling tubes of your blood to prove that you are who you say you are? What's it gonna take? The answer is you've got to start resisting now. Right now. The time is and always has been now. The only reason why the government and the media and the New World Order have been beating us up till this point, beating us hand over fist, is because you won't speak out. Is because you blame the people for these problems instead of the corrupt government, instead of the New World Order corporate interests that own the government. You say, oh, it's the sheeple's fault because they're not standing up, while you sit on the sidelines and do nothing. You're just as culpable as they are. When was the last time you really did something? When was the last time you sacrificed anything for the truth? When was the last time you got on a public speaking forum and said the truth whether or not people want to hear it? Being booed, being told to shut up, to sit back down. When was the last time you had your banners confiscated off you because they were too controversial? And come on. What, do you think you're resisting just by listening to this show? This show is merely a vessel. If you contribute to me, if you go to the VinnyEastwoodShow.com and you donate, if you make those regular donations, like some of the very, very loyal listeners, one of the listeners gives a $50 donation directly into my bank account every month. Another Russell gives me $100 a month. Another person named James, he gave me $350 the other day and $250 the week before that. And all this is allowing me to do is just pay the rent, because the rent is so freaking ridiculously high. That everything is so ridiculously expensive. Food prices going up. I gotta register my car. My shoes have holes in them. Can't find a clean pair of underwear to save my life. You know, I'm really struggling here. I'm on the bones, ladies and gentlemen, of my ass, have been for years and years and years. I have sacrificed everything. Everything that I thought that I would ever achieve in my life, I have put on the back burner, because I know that if I don't give every single waking minute of my life to resisting scumbaggery, I won't have a life at all. They will kill people like me. Those people like you who support me. You'll be next. And that makes me so angry. It makes me afraid. Afraid for you. Afraid for myself. I don't even know if I'm even going to be able to have kids. I don't even know if in the next year or so the internet won't be controlled and stop me from broadcasting. I don't even know if I'm going to have to start turning into being a writer and carbon copy things like they did in the old Soviet Republic when censorship was at its highest. I don't know how fast this agenda is going to be implemented. I know what the end game is. That they're going to kill all of us. All of us. Any one of us who cares about their country, anyone who cares about their fellow man, anybody who cares about anything other than mass media, lies, deception, drugs and alcohol, anybody who cares about anything of value will be on a hit list. We're all dead already as far as I'm concerned. So as far, as my realization has come to me, I haven't actually sacrificed anything. And I wasn't going to lose already.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's the final segment here of the Vinny Eastwood show for today. I've been given somewhat of an impassioned speech and, doing it in my deep voice, my serious voice. It's just... What can you say? People ask me all the time, what can you do to help shake people out of their slumber? And the answer is frack all you can do. Unless you're one of the tyrants suppressing them. They're the ones who wake you up. Your friends and your family don't wake you up at all. Getting busted and having lies told about you in court, or having a media hit piece article done on you, or having your company stolen by somebody who's a personal friend of the Prime Minister, that wakes you up. People like me? Nah. Telling you the truth? Nah. You have to be hit by the truth with a fracking sledgehammer in the face in order to wake up to it. Really. And I hope that all of you that are listening to this show get beaten by batons, get sprayed with mace, get tasered, get dragged out of your cars and have your children's heads slammed onto the hood or something. I hope something horrible happens to you. I mean that in a good way. Because then, only then, will you really, truly
wake up to the reality that you have no rights, that you are a slave, and that you have nothing to lose by resisting, that they ain't going to take away from you anyway. That is the realization you've got to come to, as I did. When I realized that every single job that I ever had didn't appreciate me, was run by psychos, and no matter how much they were paying me, it wasn't worth my frickin' soul. I understood that, just because of the harsh reality. I understood that police were liars, because they made up evidence, even though I had signed a full confession in court, and they still made stuff up to make themselves look good. You know, it has to happen to you. It really does. And I don't know. I was thinking about this yesterday, and I was talking to a young kid, like 20 years old, and he's still at university. He realizes university is a scam, and he still wants to be there because he thinks he needs a job, and he thinks that university is going to get him a job, even though he realizes it probably won't be there when he gets out. Even though, you need to be busted for no reason. You need to be, kicked out of your house by a foreclosure agent or something like that, or have your parents shot by police before you wake up. Go out and seek trauma. This may sound really psychotic, what I'm saying to you. That's because it's the truth. The truth is frickin' crazy. It really is. You need to suffer. All of you. Maybe just, I don't know how much suffering it takes. The amount of suffering I had was enough to make your legs give out on you when you're trying to get up the stairs, because the pain of having all your friends abandon you, of losing your girlfriend, losing everything in your future that you thought you would one day attain. Once you realize that everything in your life that you once thought existed was just a mirage, it disappears, only to reveal the fact that you're in a hollow desert with a blazing sun threatening to dry all of the blood in your veins, when you've lost all hope, and you cry out to a higher power to give you the strength to just get up those stairs. Maybe you need to suffer that much before you wake up. Without no sacrifice, there can be no victory. Without pain, you cannot know true pleasure. Without hate, you cannot know true love. Don't avoid conflict. Don't avoid pain. Don't avoid negativity. Embrace it. Seek it out. For it is only in the dark that you realize how bright your light can truly shine. That you can survive all of that. Whatever the system throws at you, you can survive it. There is nothing to stop you. You're that powerful. If only you would believe it. And I have concern, of course, that there's many people out there who can't follow that example, who won't accept that reality, that there is no future for you. I've accepted it. I've accepted that, some scum might bust into my house at any time. drag me off to some kangaroo court, execute me via firing squad. I've accepted it. I can die today, right now, and have my fate spelled out for me by people who I never elected, do not respect, and will not follow the orders of, and be happy and satisfied that at least I will die free in my own mind, even though the physical 3D universe tells me and reminds me every day that I am naught but a slave. Has that realization dawned upon you yet? Have you come to that conclusion that you are a good person, that you will not bow down, that you will not allow your spirit to be broken, even when it's shattered into 1,000 pieces? You can still pull yourself back together, like the T-1000 in Terminator 2. You know that bit where he gets frozen? Hasta la vista, baby. Shattered into 1,000,000 pieces I've been, and yet I still managed to collect myself and come back. I will not be knocked down. I will not be silenced. And I won't censor what it is that I think just so that I can get some kind of mainstream media coverage. I will not dumb things down or sugarcoat them so that I can get some form of scraps from the king's table. I'm making my own damn table. Thank you very much. Do you want to sit at my table? Are you with me? If you're with me, then for frank's sake, show it to me. Give me a donation. Set up an automatic payment. Share this radio broadcast via email, Facebook, Twitter. Make YouTube videos about it. Download and upload my shows if you want. Do anything. Anything at all. Just don't do nothing. If you do nothing, that's how the New World Order wins. That's how they've indoctrinated us from birth. Told us to respect authority. Told us to deny our own divinity. Told us to put down our creativity. To not appreciate real friendship, real love, real loyalty, except to that of the state, which wraps itself around you like an anaconda, crushing your soul, crushing your mind, and making your bones creak and snap like dry twigs. That is not the thing that envelops you with love. That is the thing that is enveloping you with hate, deception, and scumbaggery. It is no longer tolerable to let all that is good in this world die. Say and do nothing about it. There are no excuses. You have nothing to lose. You think that because you got kids or a mortgage that you can't fight to save humanity? You think that nobody throughout history had kids or a mortgage that made a difference? Wake up. Be who you are born to be. And resist. There is no option. We'll see you again sometime at the Vinny Eastwood Show.com.
No matter where you live, globalism affects you. Did you know that the Vinny Eastwood Show has more subscribers than New Zealand Herald TV and is New Zealand's most popular YouTube news channel, where warm-hearted humour and a list of awesome guests talk about crucial issues which the mainstream media ignore. A show where you, the listener, can phone up with questions, comments and suggestions of guests. Vinny is building a hub to connect truthers with raw information they need to become active. He can help you gain further skills such as website building, producing audio and video, and creating revenue streams in your own multimedia environment. Because Vinny supports such a wide range of people in the truth movement, he is not government or corporate backed and relies entirely on your donations. Give now, give generously, or subscribe for $10 a month for access to ad-free video archives. Just visit thevinnieeastwoodshow.com and click donate.